Let's keep this conversation going and welcome back in the rest of our team. Reporter for the Daily Caller, Brianna Lyman, is with us. We're also joined by former National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign, Hogan Gidley, and joining me on set, the host of America Right Now, right here on Newsmax, Tom Basile. Just the question that I've been asking, and I haven't gotten a great answer because I don't think any of us know. We learned about this for the first time, like the rest of America, on Tuesday. Hogan, why wasn't any of this made public when the National Archives became aware of this and the DOJ became aware of this 6 days before the midterm elections?
Yeah, it's Hunter Biden's laptop 2.0 here, something that the three-letter agencies knew was real. They kept it under wraps until after the election. The same thing applies here. They knew this thing was real. They knew that Joe Biden had these documents and kept them secret, of course, until after the election. It's no wonder so many on the right always talk about the deep state, and so many on the left say that's not a real thing. I mean, every time one of these things occurs, it appears as though there's suppression when it comes to a Democrat being exposed for something negative. But if it's a Republican, it's always out there in real time. We knew about Mar-a-Lago immediately. Right. We knew where the documents were. We knew details. There were pictures leaked out of all these classified documents spread everywhere, of course, which he was allowed to have because he was president. Joe Biden wasn't allowed to have them, as Matt Whitaker just pointed out. So the reason they do these types of things is because it pushes their own agenda. Every time there's a mistake, it's a mistake on behalf of the Democrats. I think everyone sees that now, and time again, it happens. These agencies need to be investigated, and I hope that this Republican Congress, now that we have the gavel, does some really significant moves to expose some of the corruption in these places.
And I know the media has asked KJP in the briefing room some somewhat challenging questions over the last couple of days, but let's be honest, they're still parroting what Joe Biden's lawyers are saying, that these were documents that were inadvertently misplaced. Joe Biden's attorneys are saying that. Obviously, they're going to paint it in the best possible way, and the media is like, well, these were just inadvertently misplaced. How this connects to 2024 is going to be fascinating. Donald Trump, Politico, was some reporting yesterday that Donald Trump's planning to hold his first public campaign event of the year in South Carolina in what aides are portraying as a first step into a more public phase of his 2024 White House run. Brianna, your reaction to that and Donald Trump now maybe getting a little bit more serious about 2024?
Yeah, and I mean, he's still the only Republican candidate that has come out and formally declared their candidacy. So I do think, again, this kind of gives him the upper hand. He is going to a state that is very favorable for him. But that being said, I think it's going to come down to how well he campaigns in Florida. When he hosts a Florida rally, how well does that do, especially if someone like Ron DeSantis runs, or if he goes to Virginia, is Glenn Youngkin going to run? So when he holds rallies in states that could be the place where real competition is had, and we see the turnout, I think that'll be a good indicator as to whether or not he has a real chance at 2024.
Good point. Tom, we keep seeing this video here of Joe Biden with that Corvette. Boy, I bet he regrets that now. Tom, I believe you've got a classic old vehicle.
Yeah, but here's
electric right there.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference. Yeah. So here's the difference. I keep my classified documents at least in the glove box, and there's a lock on it.
Right.
So they're not just hanging out in the garage. So the garage is open, kids are in and out. So I mean, you got to have some standards.
I like that Tom Basile got. What year is that? 69.
69.
Yeah.
Can I talk about Trump just for a second?
Please.
Look, so. His 2023 is definitely starting off a lot better than his 2022 ended. I think that a lot of folks looked at the last couple of months of 2022 and said that he had a really rough patch there. The announcement kind of fell flat in November. You had the loss of the Georgia Senate seat. Then you had that you had the NFT and the $99 kind of campy playing cards and everything. This was a very good week for Donald Trump, not only because Biden is now caught in his own scandal and because of the special counsel, but also because the Republican Congress is starting to govern, and the Republican Congress is starting to pass conservative legislation, and his man for Speaker won the election. So he does have a little bit of momentum here, and he does need a bit of a campaign reset. So it'll be interesting to see what the message is now for him coming out of this and going into these new rallies. How is he going to kind of breathe a little bit more new life into his fledgling third run for the White House?
And on the other side of
But there's
that,
a big-
Hogan, the Democrats. So the Democrats, say what you will about the documents. I'm convinced there is some effort on some level to undermine Joe Biden as president and maybe try to hurt him a little bit going into 2024. So maybe somebody can primary him. We saw it with Ted Kennedy and Jimmy Carter in 1980. Didn't work out for Ted Kennedy. Definitely didn't work out for Jimmy Carter, though. Politico running an article yesterday about Ro Khanna, Congressman from California. Dianne Feinstein's going to be out in 24. At least that's what we think. Ro Khanna has been public about looking at that Senate seat. But other Democrats apparently are thinking about Ro Khanna in the White House. And then you go back to the Republican side. The New York Times, Hogan, is reporting on Glenn Youngkin. And everyone thinks Glenn Youngkin at some point is going to announce that he's running. His star is rising. Youngkin, though, is juggling local issues and national ambitions. Glenn Youngkin's got to do something as governor first, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, he does. And as I've said before, when you're talking about winning a primary and being the standard bearer for the Republican Party, you have to lean on Ric Flair, the pro wrestler. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And Donald Trump is the man. And Brianna talked about Florida being important. It is, but it's a pretty conservative state. So is South Carolina. The difference, though, is South Carolina is an early primary state. So ceding that ground now, scooping up talent, having the donor base, and all of the grassroots organizations kind of coming on board now is a good thing for Donald Trump if he can kind of rally those folks together. A lot of people in that state, as you know, it's my home state.
Yep.
They're a little bit leery. They're going to wait and see as things develop. They love Donald Trump, big fans of his, but they want to see the field. They want to see what the future holds. And so a lot of people are waiting. I don't think Ro Khanna has a chance, although stranger things have happened, of course. But the fact is Donald Trump still kind of holds the whole Republican Party on his shoulders right now, and it remains to be seen on whether or not he can parlay that into votes like he did in 2016.
There is another name, Brianna, and I know that Hogan is very fond of this name, but she's now the governor of Arkansas officially. I think she's only 40 years old, maybe not 2024, maybe not 2028, but a lot of people are watching Sarah Huckabee Sanders pretty closely.
Yeah, and they should be. I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I was so upset when she left White House press secretary because she did a killer job. And of course, Kayleigh McEnany also stepped up to the plate just as great. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders also has stuff that Kayleigh McEnany doesn't. Her father obviously was the governor. Sarah's now governor. I think she'll lead Arkansas wonderfully. I don't think she's going to run in 2024. I think that would obviously cause some friction between her and Donald Trump, and I'm sure Hogan can speak more to that. But I do think in the future, she absolutely has a chance to be the candidate that we want to see.
Hogan, you were there? The inauguration of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, how was it?
It was absolutely amazing. Now, look, there's a lot of nostalgia there for me. Oh, there's me in my little ode to Ralph Lauren with the tuxedo top and the jeans and the boots. And I wore those boots because with one of my first paychecks, I bought those cowboy boots when I was working for Mike Huckabee. I knew Sarah Sanders when she was 19 years old, so I wore them for that purpose, just to kind of have an homage to her dad. It was very special for me. It was emotional for me for a lot of reasons. But Sarah did this the right way. She went to all 75 counties. She built the coalition. She went to the grassroots. She asked for their votes. And then she laid out a platform and a vision for the future of the state. And she made a great speech, including a line where she said, when Washington begins to encroach on the Southeast, we put up a stiff arm and hold them off right at the Mississippi River, which, of course, borders the eastern side of the state, saying, you ain't coming in here. And she did things on her first day with executive orders outlawing the word Latinx being used in public schools, focusing education on math, reading, and of course, the arithmetic. It was a very, very powerful day for her, and good for the state of Arkansas.
And I think that it reinforces the point that there are a lot of folks who say, well, nobody's going to run against Donald Trump. You've got a lot of governors out there, conservative governors, even like a guy who's a former governor like a Doug Ducey, other folks who are out there who have a phenomenal record running their states as chief executives who are going to be eyeing this race. And I think a lot of the donors and a lot of the grassroots are going to sit on the sidelines and see who really actually decides to get in.
Good point. Little political dynasty out there in Arkansas now. Hogan, that's pretty cool. Eureka Springs, by the way, one of my favorite towns in the state of Arkansas. All right, great panel to close out this Friday. Hogan, Brianna, Tom, thank you.